I'm sorry, that was cringe. I'm actually excited about this hunt. This is just fun to use. Hold up, let me give you a better insight. There you go. Wait, was it? Nah, that's pretty good. Okay, so here we are yet again, either on Christmas or the day after Christmas, but either way, I hope you all had a fantastic Christmas or have a fantastic Christmas. I'm not exactly sure when I'm gonna post this, but that doesn't matter. Here we have another hunter build for the Christmas spirit, even though we're not using ice. So with this build, we are using Lucky Raspberry with Trinity Ghoul, and that is the build. That is the main part of the build. So first off, let's go over Lucky Raspberry and what it does. First and foremost, its intrinsic perk or armor perk, Probability Matrix, increases the chaining capabilities of Arc Bolt Grenade and has a chance to recharge it each time it deals damage. A full grenade always recharges the grenade. With our Lucky Raspberry, we are going to be able to throw our grenades constantly and very consistently, and whenever we get a full chain, or if we get lucky, we will get our grenade back. Now, something that I noticed is in higher tier content, I seem to get lucky more often than not from the chain. Either that or the chaining capability just happens more often because they don't die. I'm not sure. I need to do more testing with that. I could be wrong, but I'm not sure. But it does seem to work better in higher tier content, getting your actual arc bolt grenade back. So there's that. Now, in terms of actual skill tree, I don't think it matters whatsoever, regardless of which one you use. I tried all three. All three of them work pretty much the same way. Middle skill tree has this thing where it gives you some melee energy back whenever you hit an electrified enemy, and you're going to be throwing your grenades a lot, so that may be good if you want to focus more so on the melee aspect of it. Top tree is good just so you have that overall regeneration of health back, plus you have your melee back more consistently alongside your grenade, so there's top tree. And bottom tree gets you your grenades back incredibly fast when you take a ton of damage, so that has that. So they all have their own benefits, but depending on your playstyle, you can go with either or. That is 100% up to you. I like going bottom skill tree just in case I get critically wounded, just so I can get my grenade back that much faster, because I tend to get wounded very often and then slide out of danger like a squirrel somehow. That out of the way, we go into the second main part of the entire build, the Trinity Ghoul, the amazing gun that, oh my, this thing is incredibly good. It's the Risk Runner on crack, but I'm not going to disrespect the Risk Runner and say that the Risk Runner is actually better than the Trinity Ghoul. Don't quote me on that. It's my opinion. Yeah. Don't quote me on that, okay? Opinions can be wrong, but it's my opinion. Anyway, with Trinity Ghoul, we are going to be having a bunch of chain lightning everywhere. We have our Arc Bolt Grenade and we have our Trinity Ghoul. So our Arc Bolt's going to be feeding our Trinity Ghoul, so we have the intrinsic perk for our Trinity Ghoul. Lightning Rod, our ad clear is going to be absolutely ridiculous, and it's beautiful. It's so much fun to play around with. For your other weapons, they don't really matter, like, at all. I went with Falling Guillotine for my heavy, and I switch sometimes off my Trinity Ghoul to go to Anarchy for more boss DPS, but varies. But basically, for my heavy, I want something with high DPS for bosses, because let's be honest, the Trinity Ghoul is not very good for boss DPS, nor is the Lucky Raspberry. You need something that can handle higher tier enemies so you don't have to rely on others to do it for you, especially when you're doing solo tier content. That is one thing about this build that actually is kind of a downside. The weapons and the stuff in your loadout isn't really setting you up for success for bosses, but for ads, you are guaranteed to succeed. As long as you have more recovery than I do, so you have more survivability, you will be perfectly fine in higher tier content. Which brings us to the next part, stats. I have 100 discipline because I like having grenades back very frequently. In case I don't actually get my grenade back from getting the arc chain from my arc bolt grenade, then I have 100 discipline to get my recharge back up so I have my grenade that much faster. If you don't want to go into discipline, other things that I would recommend is possibly intellect along with recovery. Mobility is also a good option, as well as strength, but if I were to single it down to one or two, I would say go into recovery or intellect. Recovery just so you have more regen, so you have that survivability for higher tier content, so you don't just instantly get wiped. Why do I always go to resilience when I'm doing that? But yeah, you want it so you don't get wiped, so you can heal back up and get back into the fight that much faster. You don't want to have to hide behind a wall. And your intellect, because this build is honestly very good for getting our super back. It is extremely good for getting our super back, so intellect can also be very good to spec into. Moving away from stats, going into mods. Mods, honestly, it can vary depending on what you're actually going for. For me, I went for super, so the first thing that I'm going to be going over is energy converter. Now what this does, while charged with light, using your super, or using your grenade, apologies, using your grenade attack grants you super energy, consuming all stacks of charged with light. The more stacks you have, the more energy you have, and you can only do it to a maximum of 50% of your super. Now what this means is that once you get past that 50% barrier for your super, you can't actually use that mod from my understanding of it. So once you get past 50% of your super, then that mod will not work anymore and you will not consume stacks of Charged with Light. So if you're below the 50% barrier, then the mod will work. If you're past the 50% mark, then it will not work. So we're using this along with our grenades, and this is why our grenade is so substantial in this build. And the way we're actually going to be utilizing this as much as we possibly can is with Supercharge. Now with Supercharge, it just gives us 2 additional stacks of Charged with Light. I would aim for 5. I can only go for 4 because of the restrictions that I have with all my armor and my mods put together, but this is as good as I can get. Along with Supercharge, I'm actually running Bomber on my Dreambane cloak. Also, it's 1060, I know. I don't have any other solar cloaks that are masterwork yet. I'm working on it. I'm trying to get masterwork cores, okay? But Bomber just reduces our grenade cooldown whenever we use our class ability. And other Charge of Light mods that we're using is Taking Charge. Taking Charge is how we're actually becoming charged with light. Since our Trinity Ghoul is always getting extremely high amounts of kills, it is always generating orbs of light for us, so getting those orbs of light for our Charge of Light is not a problem at all. If you have some other way to become charged with light, I would highly recommend going with it. Sometimes Taking Charge can be very inconsistent, so it is not 100% recommendation from me, but I like using it, and most of the time it does not fault me. And the last thing that I want to go over in terms of mods is Ashes to Assets. It gets us our super incredibly fast, alongside our other mods and other stuff that we're running to get our super back. So with this, gain bonus super energy on grenade kills. It's as simple as that. Since we have a grenade constantly, we are always getting super energy, and because of that, we just get our super incredibly fast. If you have weapons with Thresh, I would go with that as well, because that gets you super energy fast as well. I just said that twice, but it doesn't really matter in all honesty in terms of weapons with Thresh, because Trinity Ghoul is going to be the main weapon that we're using anyway, but that is personally up to you. Also, I am running 2 of these because they stack. It doesn't stack in the way you think. So the first time I used it, I thought it would stack by like 2 times because, you know, logic, but no, they actually made it so that it has diminishing returns. I don't know the exact numbers. I should probably look it up, but diminishing returns means it just has less than 2 times. So it's probably around like 1.2 to 1.5, somewhere within that range, I think, but don't quote me on that. We'll see how that goes. And yeah, that is pretty much the build. There isn't really too much to go over with this, and yet it's still this long of a video. But yeah, I wanted to share this as quick as I possibly could because I have an incredible amount of fun with it. It puts a giant smile on my face, especially since it's Arc, something other to use than the combination blow build, which by all means, it is amazing and incredibly fun to use, but I'm kind of bored of it. All right, once again, I hope you all had a Merry Christmas, and I will see you in the next video. Happy holidays. Peace.